Abraham Lincoln, 1861 to 1865. What do you know about Abraham Lincoln? What was his family like? Did he go to college? What did he do before he became president? And what happened in our country during the time that he was the United States president? Lincoln was born February 12, 1809 in Kentucky. Most historians believe this old cabin was not Lincoln's actual house. His parents were Thomas and Nancy Hanks Lincoln. Thomas Lincoln was a religious man. He opposed slavery and for religious and economic reasons. Lincoln loved learning, but he did not have a lot of time to go to school. He was a voracious reader and self-taught. Abraham Lincoln, his hand and pen, he will be good, but God knows when. Early Americans, some books were old-fashioned notebooks. They were multiple pages stitched together. Most sum books contain tables on weights and measures, percentages, fractions, and rules of mathematics. Shown here is one of 10 surviving pages from Abraham Lincoln's homemade student sum book. Lincoln often said, "Everything I want to know is in books." Lincoln resting from his rails, splitting chores, engaging in his favorite pastime, reading. His mother died when he was 9 years old. His father married Sarah Bush. This photograph of Sarah Bush Lincoln was taken when she was an old woman. What is a rail splitter? Young Abe Lincoln, the rail splitter in 1830 as he chops out the center split of a log. This is a rail. Young Abe Lincoln, the rail splitter in 1830 as he chops out the center of a split log. In 1832, Lincoln was a ranger and a soldier during the Black Hawk War. President Lincoln's first home in Illinois. Lincoln was the manager of this store in New Salem, Illinois. Abraham Lincoln and Anne Rutledge. People in New Salem respected Abraham Lincoln. He became interested in government and thought about becoming a state politician. Lincoln tried to win an election for the state government position in 1832 at age 23. He lost. He won his first election in 1834. This is the Illinois State Capitol building in the city of Springfield. A young Mary Todd Lincoln. When she was a teenager, Mary Todd lived in this house in Lexington, Kentucky. In July 1834, Abraham Lincoln borrows law books from the office of John Todd Stewart. He became a lawyer in 1837. Lincoln and Mary Todd broke their engagement. For some time, Mary dated other men, including another Illinois politician, Stephen Douglas. Later, Abraham Lincoln and Mary Todd saw each other again. From the Lincoln Family Bible. These companion daguerreotypes are the first known photographic images of Abraham Lincoln and Mary Todd Lincoln. They were reportedly made in 1846 by Nicholas H. Shepard shortly after Lincoln's election as a delegate to the U.S. House of Representatives. Shepard also studied at the law office of Lincoln and Herndon. Mary said, "These are two of my most precious pictures, taken when we were young and so desperately in love." Robert Lincoln, Mary, and Abraham Lincoln's oldest child, was born in 1843, the year after the Lincolns married. Robert Lincoln was the only Lincoln child who lived till adulthood. In 1846, Lincoln became a national politician. He won election as House of Representative to Congress. He worked for the state of Illinois in the Capitol building. He lived in Washington for 2 years. That same year of 1846, Eddie, Mary and Abraham Lincoln's second son, was born. Eddie died in 1850 before Lincoln became president. He was almost 4 years old. Lincoln served 1 term in Congress. He returned to Springfield and worked as a prairie lawyer. This is a picture of him reading on his way to his next court session in 1850. Mr. and Mrs. Lincoln as they might have looked in 1855. In America, people moved west. Reason number 1 for moving west: there was cheap farmland. Reason number 2, there was gold. When more people moved west for gold or farmland, Americans could make new states. Arguments began. Will the new states permit slaves or be free? This is a picture of Bleeding, Kansas. There was fighting in Congress. This is a picture of J. Maggie's famous politician cartoon of Congressman Preston Brooks' attack on Senator Charles Sumner. Remember Stephen Douglas? In 1846, he became a U.S. Senator in Washington, D.C. for the state of Illinois. In 1858, Lincoln challenged Stephen Douglas's position as Senator of Illinois. Lincoln invited Douglas to debate around Illinois. This is what the letter said. S.A. Douglas, my dear sir, will it be agreeable to you to make an arrangement for you and myself to divide time and address the same audiences during the present canvass? Mr. Judd, who will hand you this is authorized to receive your answer, and if agreeable to you, enter the terms of such agreement. Your servant, Abraham Lincoln. It is the right of the people to make a slave territory or a free territory. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. I do not expect the Union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall, but I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all one thing or all the other. A house divided against itself cannot stand. This is a picture of Abraham Lincoln, October 9, 1858. Lincoln lost the election for Illinois senator, but he became famous after the debates. Republicans asked him to try to win the election to become president. Lincoln accepted the nomination. This is a photograph of Abraham Lincoln, May 20th, 1860, probably by Preston Butler. This is a portrait of Abraham Lincoln from the presidential campaign of 1860 by John Henry Brown. This is a portrait of Abraham Lincoln from the presidential campaign of 1860 by Matthew Brady. The President-elect at Independence Hall in Philadelphia. This is a picture of Abraham Lincoln, March 1861, after the inauguration. This is a picture of the White House in 1861. This is a picture of President Lincoln and his cabinet. This map shows that southern states had more land, which suggests that they might have held the advantage during the Civil War. However, Maryland and Delaware supported the Union, as did most citizens living in western Virginia and eastern Tennessee. Also, the North had an economic advantage. More people and more factories and banks were in the North.